Hello and welcome to episode number 107 of Week in Review. My name is Sean, and on this week's show, we have a little bit of a different format for you. I'm going to be talking to you about Kesha's brand new album, High Road. I'm going to be talking about every song individually, some initial thoughts on the album as a whole, and then I'll come back at the very end and give you some more final thoughts on it after spending a weekend plus with it and several listens to the album. We'll also talk about this week's new releases and the streams happening over on twitch.tv/SeanOsaurusRex. But what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about why I love Kesha so much, because she's great, and I've always really liked her. She's always brought something like different to the table. I don't typically listen to pop music. In fact, when I was like in high school and shit, like I was the guy who was always like, "I bet you never heard of this band," and I like took personal pride in it. I was thinking about that the other day for some reason. I was just like, man, that must have been real fucking annoying. But here we are in 2020, and I'm listening to a pop star's brand new album. I've always liked her. I don't really like Animal as an album all that much. I think it has like 4 really great songs or 5 really great songs. A lot of the other stuff doesn't really work for me, and it's also, it kind of suffers from the first album syndrome of like it's sounds very similar throughout, and I think what she does better in her other 2 full studio albums is varying the sound. It ebbs and flows a little bit more interestingly while like kind of sticking to pop roots. So Animal's not an album that I go back to. I pick a couple songs off it here and there. I pick a couple songs off of Cannibal as well, and I put them into a playlist that I have that I use. But I first really started listening to her consistently with Warrior in probably summer 2014, so I was a little bit late to the party. For some reason I had it on my iPod, probably just because I was like, I like her and I'll put her whole discography on it, because that's another weird little quirk about me, is I don't just have one song by an artist. I go deep dive and grab everything and all their singles and EPs and B-sides and covers, and I make sure that I have those readily available just in case the opportunity ever arises that I'm standing at a bus stop and I'm like, you know what sounds good? The new Kesha album, or the most recent at the time Kesha album. And I totally fell in love with Warrior. I think it has 2 songs on it that I skip. I think it's tracks 5 and 6. It's the Iggy Pop one, and I think the other one's called Wonderland. I just don't like them. I do not like the Iggy Pop song. I don't think it's very fun, but it's a cool kind of starting point of her dabbling with different sounds. A lot of it is very pop, but that one's almost like a punk rock variant song, and it's really good. I love that album. It has 10 of the 12 tracks on the original record, I think, are absolutely fantastic. They're all at least an 8. And then there are a couple on the extended deluxe edition that I think are very good as well, that are even better than the tracks that I skip on the regular album. Fast forward, after her whole legal battle with Dr. Luke, who's a piece of shit, we finally get Rainbow, and Rainbow is an absolutely fantastic album, and I don't know which direction to go. If do I pick Warrior? Do I pick Rainbow? I think they're both equally strong. I think the highs are probably higher on Rainbow than Warrior, but the songs that I don't like are a little more frequent on Rainbow than they are on Warrior. So I don't know. It can be a little tricky to explain, but I think Warrior is more consistent, but the highs on Rainbow are so good. There are 7 songs that I think are a 9 on that album. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited. This was the other thing I was going to talk about, was that I've been curious about the album High Road to see what she's going to do. I stayed away from all the singles. I haven't heard any of it. I wanted to go in as blind as possible because I'm doing streaming and stuff like that. I was like, I'm just going to listen to it front to back, talk about it in between tracks, kind of just give some hot take reviews throughout. Reviews being a very loose term for just I liked it, that was good, I'm going to go back to it, whatever. Over the last week, I have been tweeting once a day. I've been 7 more days, 6 more days, whatever. I have gotten so excited. And then I played I played one song that I really like off of each of her three previous albums, and then Sleazy, which I love. I think it technically qualifies as a guilty pleasure song. Like it's kind of like silly and dumb, but like I genuinely love it. And listening. Let's start with Tonight. Hell yes, that song's great. Kesha just makes me smile so much. Her stuff is so poppy and energetic, and like the best, most fun way possible. Like I started listening to it, it's just seriously like, fuck yes, like fuck yes. I'm so in. I love the lyric, "Don't circumcise my circumstance," and when she said that something about like, "Bitch, get up and sing" or something, I thought she was gonna say "suck my dick," which I don't know why. Because she said it on one of the songs in Warrior that I really like. God, this album's so good. It's so good. That was great. I it just makes me so happy. Oh, so happy. I like one of the things that really sticks out with this album is like the way she originally advertised it with like the "bitch I'm blessed" and the like televangelist stuff. I don't know. It's just maybe it's as a person who kind of like who grew up like in the church like that, and just like it's so easy to make fun of and like kind of not even kind of it's really easy to like shit on because like a lot of it's very fake and terrible. But oh god, I don't even know where I'm going with that. I'm just so deliriously happy with it. It's so good. I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited. I got a little worried, frankly, going in where I was like, I don't know. What if I don't like it very much? What if it's not? What if it doesn't click with me? No, we're 3 tracks in and it's clicking just fine. Okay, so I figured out kind of where I was going with that last dumb tangent that I was going on about like, I like that she's kind of like shitting on the televangelist thing because that stuff's like really fake. Her stuff is so positive and poppy and fun to listen to, and I believe it. Like I thoroughly believe in her. I believe in her authenticity, and I love it. That song was fucking great. This whole album's fucking great. We're 4 in. We're 4 for 4. My brain is blown with how good this is. How many times can I just say like, fuck yes. Fuck yes. That was awesome. So part of the reason that I was maybe like a little like a smidge worried about this album was she's talked about like in interviews and stuff where she's got her balls back, which I love it, super big fan of it. But what worried me a little bit was that she was gonna go back to like full pop, and part of what I don't really like about Animal is how like straight pop it is. There's like a slow song or two here or there. I'm not super familiar with it because it's not one that I go back to because it just doesn't click with me. That worried me a little bit and kind of tempered my expectations to be like, okay, I gotta slow down. Like what I loved so much about Rainbow was the ebb and the flow, the jokey, silly, over the top, fun songs mixed with the darker, more serious ballads in there. And this is the perfect mix of both of those where like she has like jokes and she's goofing around, but at the same time she's like, just get the fuck out of my way and let me fucking do what I fucking want to do. And it's perfect. God, it's so good. I love this album so much. It is, I think I'm 5 songs in, I think 5 songs or so. This is the best album of the year. I don't think anything's going to touch it. It would take something real special. Specifically, like if Looming comes out on their album, maybe Me Without You, but man, it's going to be real hard to top this. And we're only 5 songs in. Okay, that ending really threw me off. This isn't my favorite song of the album. I like it musically. I like the simplicity of just the bass drum and snare, and I like the kind of like chorus singing. Lyrically, it's not super strong, but I do love that you'd stab me in the. I love the lyric of "you'd stab me in your back with your stripper shoe." It's really funny. It's not. It just doesn't click with me in the way that the other tracks have so far. but it's by no means bad. It's just kind of like not as good as everything else. So that's three slower songs in a row, and I was a little worried. Like my initial thought was like, oh, like we've hit like a lull. We were doing real well here, and all of a sudden it's really slowed down. Um, but I got so lost in it that I kind of lost track of exactly where I was on the album, how many songs in a row it had been since it was like poppy and like very hype. What a wonderfully sweet and sincere and heartfelt, kind song. I really loved it. I guess you could say I 180'd on it, where I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I really want to do another slow song, but by the quarter mark, which would be about a minute in, I was like, I'm super in. I love the simplicity of it. Just her, the other vocalist, the guitar, the piano kicks in a little bit at the end. Just it's really good, and that's why I like her so much. Is even stuff like she has like a couple of songs that even veer into like country music on Rainbow that I'm like, I don't like country. I think it's terrible music. That's an opinion, obviously, but like I can't stand it. But I like when she does it because she has a likability to her that I really like. Just I find very endearing. Man, I that was great. That was great. I don't even know. Like, just I guess again, fuck yes. Okay, Color Me Surprised. Another slow song back to back. I think that's three in a row, four in a row, maybe. This one's weird because it's got Sturgill Simpson, who I would assume would be the deeper vocals, but Brian Wilson, I think, is from Queen, and there was no electric guitar in there, and I don't know his voice, but it seemed like there were only two vocalists there. Again, it's good. I am kind of getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I'd like it to pick back up now. We can go back into the other style of music now. Like I'm good with that. I don't know. Starting to wonder, like I'm starting to kind of fill out in my head, like, okay, I like the beginning of it, and then it's kind of dipping a little bit. There are a couple of good songs in there, and I wonder if it's dipping like a little bit too much before hopefully bringing it back towards like a happier ending, I guess. We'll see. Okay, she's bringing it back up, getting a little more back into the pop area. That was pretty okay. It was kind of short. That's one thing. That's one other thing that I noted, in my head as this one was starting. I was like, a lot of these songs are like 2.5 or 3 minutes, which is great because none of them are ever too long or too short. They're like a very nice, manageable length where even if I'm not a super big fan of it, by the time I'm like, maybe I'll skip it, it's like almost over anyway, so I might as well just let it play out. But that was fine. Love it. It's great. I thought it was really fun, musically and lyrically, goofy and sweet. It's everything I love about Kesha. Like I just pushed into one silly, fun song. Yeah, that's really great. So before I jump into this one, because I forgot to mention this when I was starting, this is the song that I've been the most curious about. So if you don't know, she originally had the $sign in her name, as you would see. It says Kinky featuring Kesha with the $sign. She had that in her first two albums, Animal and Warrior. There it is. I'm a Kesha aficionado. No big deal. Kesha aficionado. There you go. All one word. After Warrior and after everything happened, all the fallout with Dr. Luke and his piece of shittiness, she dropped the $sign from her name. What I'm curious about, before we listen to the song, what I'm curious about is she going to play that as like a character? Like, I'm so curious about this because my thought process was like, what if she has regular we know who she is now, Kesha, and what if she does callbacks to Kesha with a $sign, and that's like a character that she plays off of? I don't know. I'm super curious to see what this song holds. Oh man, this album's so good. It's so good. That was pretty good. I'm not sure exactly how Kesha with the dollar sign fits into the equation, and I'm not. I wish the start of that was just an interstitial between the previous song and that one. Like it's 3 tracks instead of 2, but still pretty fun. I don't know. I feel like I'm running out of words to just be like, I love this. You know, I guess I can just keep saying it. But that was pretty good. It's fun, I guess. Well, not I guess. It's fun. That that is the most bizarre Kesha song I have ever heard, and I loved it. It is like genuinely funny because it's just so randomly put together, like musically and lyrically. It's just so bizarre, and the way it all comes together and crashes into each other is just so weird. I don't know, like just gonna grow some potatoes because I want to. Going back to her like pretty consistent theme of like I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want and I don't really give a shit like what you think. Like just get the fuck out of my way. That's like a sillier take on that idea, and I really liked it. Another great song, really fun and silly. Maybe like a smidge long because it's a little over 4 minutes, and everything else has been a little tighter. I off the top of my head I don't know what the second longest song would be, but it's still really sweet. I really like the little anecdote about being nervous before the Grammys and getting sent a bag of candy dicks. I thought that was really fun. Yeah, it's good. Like everything else on this album, it's just fucking great. That boy, that song is incredible, and I'm surprised it's so short at just over 2.5 minutes. What a beautiful song musically and lyrically and vocally. Um, it's tremendously effective. And I like this song could be double its length and I would be totally fine with that. It's that good. Um Man, I mean obviously I haven't listened to the rest of the album. I think we're getting towards the end here. I think there are only 2 or 3 tracks left. But this feels like instant reaction, right? Because that's what this is, right? Instant reaction. Instant reaction feels like a missed opportunity to touch on some other kind of like darker themes. Um, Having someone else to help, like I like that. She's like she talks about looking at her phone to help with her anxiety. Like how can she miss something she never had? You just like expand on that a little bit more and like really hammer it home because that's what I like so much about and going back to Rainbow. I keep going back to these older albums, but what I really like about them is that they don't feel like they pull punches. This one feels like she pulled. Like she pulled that she was like, I can hit, but I'm gonna come in a little softer. It probably could have used another minute to explore these themes. I know I said double. I'm totally fine with double. I know that puts it at like 5 minutes long, but if you just hit just a little bit harder, I think you have something really special with it. But instant reaction kind of just feels like it's not 100%. It's like a 90% power. Like, hit me harder, Kesha. I like that song a lot musically. I don't know if it's the strongest lyrically. I kind of wasn't really paying super close attention. She's just talking about chasing thunder. All right, cool. It's still great. Like I'm sitting here and in my head, like kind of like at the current second, and I know I just talked about it, but I think there are only like I think there are 2 songs left maybe at this point. Because I said 2 or 3, so -1 would be like 1 or 2. I think this album, at the current second, the way I'm thinking about it now, I think this album is front loaded with like really great stuff that sets it on a terrific course, and I don't know if the back end is as strong as the front section of it is. That's, I mean, let's be clear. There's not a bad song on this album. Everything's been at least good. One kind of like a missed opportunity, but those first like 4 or 5 songs are just so great, and it dips. And when I talked about it earlier, I talked about how I worried that it dipped too much, but I don't necessarily think at this point that it dipped too much, but it just never got back to that level that the initial opening 4 tracks ever were ever at. And it kind of picked up and then dropped down, and it's kind of been more of a roller coaster here in the back half of the album. And I think, like, just off the top of my head, again, instant reaction, the first chunk of it is really strong. Like, it's like a 9, and the rest of this is like a 7. Like, it's good, but I keep waiting for it to pick all the way back up, and she just hasn't gotten there. There have been a couple of good songs like Birthday Suit and Potato Song, which is probably as close to Godzilla or Dinosaur, whichever. I can't remember exactly what it's called on Rainbow. Probably the closest we'll ever get to that song again. And those are fun and silly. I just wish that there were more of those, and it keeps kind of dipping down further, and it hasn't quite hit that upper echelon that the first handful of tracks did. So throughout that song, I kept moving my hands because I was like, this is where it's going to hit, and we're going to get this musical explosion, and it's going to be this big, like, bombastic, spastic, crazy, happy musical piece, and it never did that. I even, like, did this, and then it immediately dropped, and it felt like 3 separate times it, like, built up to have this big, like, trumpets blaring and loud drums and her going summer in a very, like, loud and bombastic and, like, excited way, and it just never did that. It really bums me out. But, you know, it is what it is. It, again, a good song. None of these songs are bad. None of these songs are like skip, pass through them. They're all, like I've said earlier, they're all short enough to be like, okay, it'll be over in 2 minutes anyway. Not that big of a deal. Nothing has crossed these 2 ears today with this album that's, pass. And that, I mean, that streak is maintained, but it also just a missed opportunity. You're right there to, like, do this cool, like, musical explosion. Maybe that honestly speaks more to what I like when I listen to music, which is that, like, kind of that build over the course of a couple minutes to those explosions and to those moments where it's just drums crashing and louder vocals, not necessarily like screaming. I do like screaming, but like just excitement and joy and like that sort of stuff. Okay, I don't know if there's anything after this. There's not. Okay, that was the last song on the album. All right, good, great. We made it through. Okay, so with that being the last song, that felt like a really good time to end it on something that's like very loud and crazy and bombastic. And just kind of didn't. It built and then dropped and then built and then dropped. And it's like, oh, there's not really much of a payoff. That's a good word to put. Just pay it off, Kesha. Hit me hard. Hit me with those emotions. Hit me with that hype music. Just hit me. So there you go. There's Kesha's new album tonight. Nope, that's not what it's called. It's called High Road. Definitely called High Road. Let's do that. Flip me back on there. Yeah, so I would go with that. Those first 5 songs are really good. Tonight, My Own Dance, Raising Hell, High Road, and Shadow. And the last, was that 11? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, those last 9 songs are really weirdly like roller coastery up and down. Oh, you can't even see that because I am blocking it. Is that it? There you go. So there you go. Those 9 songs are much more up and down, tonally and quality wise. I would argue Honey is probably I don't know if it's the weakest. Honey and BFF are the 2 that kind of stick out as like the closest to skippable. I don't know. I don't think there's an out and out bad song on this album, but I think Honey and BFF are probably the 2 weakest. I really like, there's the section 10, 11, and 12, Birthday Suit, Kinky, and Potato Song that I really like. Those are all much sillier and goofier. I think, which one did I laugh at? I laughed at Potato Song. I think it's like really just so funny and bizarre and weird. Um, but yeah, there you go. Those are some kind of instant reaction, early thoughts about the album. After a few extra days and 6 additional listens, which brings my grand total up to 7 total listens of High Road over the last couple of days, I love this album and I love it more and more each time I listen to it. I think it's absolutely fantastic front to back. Through the continual listens over the weekend, I realized that my criticism or worry about the flow of the album being like too high and then too dark and then uneven in the back end doesn't really work. Like, I understand that in my head, the album breaks into sections. It's like the first 5 songs are really hype and exciting. The second 3 songs are pretty soft and like mellow. There's like kind of an interstitial song between those 3 and then the 3 like super silly songs. And then it's like a little bit of a roller coaster through the last 5 tracks, I believe. But listening to it over and over and over again, including spending 2 full listens of it while just playing Halo and listening to the album just breeze by, like just all of a sudden it was at the start of the album. I was like, oh, okay, do it again. Went through again, had the same thought. It's a really quick and breezy album to get through. It's just there are no songs that are like skippably bad. You get into the groove with some of the stuff that I really like, and it alleviates that fear of just being like, I'm gonna pick like 6 or 7 songs from this and kind of abandon the rest. This is an album that I will come back to as a whole pretty much every single time. There were 2 songs that I noticed that I got either more attached to or less attached to. The song that I grew more attached to was actually Honey, which was, if you had asked me on Friday night after I had finished listening to the album the first time, I probably would have put as my least favorite song. But for whatever reason, the more I listened to it, the more I was like, yes, I like what they're doing with it. I like the vocal style. I like the simplicity of it. I like the way it sounds. It's a fun song, and I really love the lyric of, stab you in the back with a stripper shoe. It's really funny. It's a song that grew on me. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I really like this. On the flip side, the one song that I really cooled off on was BFF. That probably would have ranked lower had you asked me on Friday night. I thought it was a little long initially, but after an additional 6 listens, I'm like, yes, it is very long. It's one chorus and a couple lines too long, about a minute of song time where it's just like, this would have been perfectly fine at a 3-minute song. It's 4 minutes and 12 seconds. It runs its course and it feels like it's just, okay, like I had moved past it by the time the song was done. So that was the one that I was like, okay, that one is probably my least favorite song on the album, even though I like its message. I like some of the lyrics and the anecdotes. It just doesn't work as well for me. It just boils down to, I think it's too long. I still think that front section, the first 5 songs, are the strong point of this album. I love all of them so very much. The rest of the album is good to great, but that first 5 songs are like at an amazing level. Like, those are 9s. The rest of everything is like maximum at 8, low of like a 6 for like good. The start of this album is just tremendous. And I do want to make one more note. I didn't realize this because I listened to it on Spotify and there is no notation on it, but the final song on the album, Summer, is actually a digital album exclusive, so it should actually end the song before with the Chasing Thunder. So having that additional knowledge kind of contradicts the way I was talking about it being an album ender, but I didn't realize that because there isn't any sort of notation on Spotify. But I just thought you should know, if you've made it to this part in the video, you're like, man, he's been wrong for the last like 10 minutes. He should probably correct that. Don't worry, I figured it out. I do think Chasing Thunder is a better end song. I like Summer. I actually have really grown to like that song a lot more. I still think it comes up a little bit short because it feels like it builds 3 separate times and is unfulfilling in what it pays off. But overall, it's an absolutely terrific album. I love it front to back. I think it's at least good, maximum of amazing, very consistently great though. And I don't know exactly where it sits as far as like Kesha's best albums. I think if it's at least in, you asked me in like a month and 2 months, if I at least say like it's as good as Rainbow, I think that's good. She's not trending downward. She's kind of on a flat line of great. I love Rainbow. I think it's a tremendous album with one song that I really don't like. But other than that, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I recommend you check out High Road. You can stream it everywhere. You can go buy it. Just go listen to it because it's fantastic. Finally, on this week's show, we'll take a look at the new releases. It's a pretty simple week. There's one on every platform. In theaters, Birds of Prey. Games-wise is Zombie Army 4 and Blu-ray, which is, I've saved the best for last. Waves is out on Blu-ray. I love Waves so very much. It is one of my favorite movies of last year. It's one of the best movies of last year. Please watch it. It's an incredible movie. I love it dearly. Streams this week on twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex are just a little bit different. I'm going to be streaming on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Friday is going to be Coffee Date. Saturday is going to be a split between Zombie Army 4, most likely, and Maximum Football 20, whatever it is, Doug Flutie's Maximum Football. I'm not even sure what year they put on it. And then Sunday will be Super Mario RPG. Monday will also be Super Mario RPG. Also, don't forget to go fill out your bracket over on challenge.com/March Mascot Madness 2. The tournament tips off on March 1st at 4 p.m. Pacific over on twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the High Road album. If you liked it, you can tell me that. If you didn't like it, you can tell me why you didn't like it. And then if you like this content, you can scroll up and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to check out the streams on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday over on twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex. And as always, check back every Tuesday for more Week in Review. We'll see you next week. More waving.